At this time, we'll call on Teshio J. Miller, and she is the Vice Chair Lady, Youth Council, to introduce our guest speaker.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Teshio Miller. I am supposed to be reintroducing the keynote speaker tonight, but since his lovely wife is here, I yield to her so that you may introduce her husband.
So that was unexpected. I thank you. So good evening, my beautiful brothers and sisters. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How beautiful you all look this evening. It's always a pleasure for me to introduce, I like to call them my honey bunches of oats. We are going on our 25th year of marriage this year, it's December, and I am so excited about that. He is the rock of our family. He has a strong, strong man in our community. He has done some phenomenal things in the community that some said wouldn't get done. Some people said that would shut down. And I'm so glad that with God's help, he's turned them around. He's a man of God. He trusts God with all that he does, with all that we do. We know that we're smart enough to put God first, and at the helm of that, he walks by faith and definitely not by sight. He's my heart. He's the father of our beautiful two boys, and he's your speaker this evening. I ask you to listen with not just your ears, but to listen with your heart, and I promise you, you'll be blessed on this evening. So to some I introduce, and to others I present my heart, Samuel T. Frisby.
Now, that was really unexpected, but I love when my wife gets an opportunity to shine and when she gets an opportunity to talk about me. I love talking about her just as much. Teshio, it's interesting, we were sitting there looking at your name, and my wife's name, Teska, is Egyptian. It stands for enchanting one. And your names are one letter apart. And you put that K in there and you got Teska. So we were noticing that as we were looking at the schedule. I am so excited to be here and so blessed. Each and every time I come before my Liberian brothers and sisters, it is a good time. I asked Sister Tarlo Lydia Miller if she recognized this piece of garb. And she said, I definitely do. Because the last time that I had an opportunity to speak before you, I think it was 2014. And you guys made me an honorary Liberian that year. So I was feeling myself. And I said to her husband, I'm an honorary Liberian, but I have no garb. So the next time you go back to Liberia, I need you to bring me something. He went back home about a month later, and he spent 2 weeks trying to catch me, knocking on my door. And in a bag, was this piece of garb. And he said, you gotta wear it right. It's a 3-piece suit. You gotta make sure that you handle it right. So my sister, I appreciate you, and we love you, and you know I loved your husband. He was a great man and a great support for you. So please give it up for my sister and her husband. You know, I'm not going to be before you long. And I just want to leave you with a thought, because this is a day of celebration where we're going to get our dancing on and we're going to eat really, really well. But I want to leave your leadership team with a charge. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. You know, 1619, the very first slave ship reached our shores here in Jamestown. And it doesn't go unnoticed for me that 201 years later is when the group, the ACS, decided to make a trek to Africa because they felt that we were overrunning America and they wanted to send us back home. And then in 1847, you took your independence back in Liberia and you broke from the ACS and had your land in your country. We have so much in our past that is so entangled. We have brothers and sisters in Liberia that could be our cousins and probably are our cousins and brothers and sisters of generations removed from the slave ships that reached these shores in 1619. Thank you. It's interesting that our histories are so intertwined, but there's something to be said about unity. Something to be said about unity. You know, I heard us, we've done a whole lot of praying and a whole lot of singing since we've been here. So I know that you're a group of people that understand and know biblical principles. So in Genesis 11, 1 through 9, it talks about a tower that the people were going to build to the heavens. Because at that particular time, we had one language, we were one people. And in the Bible, it talks about the Tower of Babel, and God came down and he saw the work that we were doing together in unity. And he said, if we allow them to continue this work, there's nothing that they won't be able to accomplish. And so God confounded us with different languages. And with those different languages, we lost our unity. We couldn't complete the task. Well, doesn't it sound a whole lot like us today? Where we might have the same skin color, and we might be hailed from the same places, but we've lost our unity. We need to get our unity back. So if we get our unity back, there's nothing that we can't do. You know, I remember the very first time that I met this beautiful group, the Liberian Civic Association. Some of you might not remember because some of you might not have been part of the group at that time. It was 2004 and you guys were looking to host your annual day at Trenton Central High School again. And I think the previous year you had 20,000 people out there at Trenton High, and they were saying, we don't know if we can let them come back. At that particular time, I was the head of Parks and Recreation for the city of Trenton, and you guys came to meet with me. I met with your youth group, your youth soccer group, and I met with your leadership group. And we said, we're going to figure this out. And we figured it out. Even if we had to run buses, right? We figured out. Because we were unified in our thought, but we were more unified in what had to happen. We knew that your Independence Day had to go on so we could work together in unity as a group. I remember that little tiny room. Some of you, I saw some of you nodding your heads. I remember when I went to the meeting on South Broad Street, there was a little storefront church. Y'all remember that, right? That little storefront. And my staff said, hey, do you want us to come with you? I said, I don't need anybody to go with me to go talk to my people. But when I walked in the room, now the little space was only about 2,000 square feet. But it felt like you had 2,000 people crammed up in that 2,000 square feet. There were a lot of folks up in that room. And everybody was yelling and shouting over each other when we started, and we didn't have a microphone like this. And I said, I'm going to wait just for a second, because we can't all talk together. We can sing together, but we can't all talk together. And as we began to talk about what needed to happen, as we began to plan out what your Independence Day would begin to look like, we recognized that we all had the same agenda. That was to make sure that we showed up for our Liberian brothers and sisters. So as I was thinking about what to talk to you about today, and I asked my sister, Tarla Lydia Miller, I love saying your whole name. When I asked my sister, and my sister Mabel Watson, who recommended that I be your speaker today, and I love Mabel so much, she and her whole family. I was trying to figure out, what do I want to say? And God said, lead the charge. Lead the charge. And so to our newly lamented president and vice president, and to your whole commission, this is the charge. Unify your people. Unify your people. This is the charge. See, over the last 20 years, I've had an opportunity, because we family up in here, right, so I can talk about it. I've had the opportunity to watch us where we're going to elections and it was divisive, right? We couldn't get together on the same page. And we had some challenges. But you persevered and you're still here. You persevered and you're still here. And now we have a new president and vice president that are going to unify the people. The charge is unify the people. Because if you want to go far, then we go together. If we want to go far, we go. If we want to go far, then we go. If we want to go far, then we go. If we want to go far, we go. If you want to go fast, you go alone. But I'm standing in a room full of people that want to go really far. So my Liberian brothers and sisters, I love you. I want you to go far together. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you. Thank you for your time. I love you all so much. Let's continue to do the work. Mr. Presidente, Mr. Vice President, let's do it together.
Thank you. Let's give it up again for our guest speaker.